All right, since we're talking about the Seahawks, let's move over. If you've noticed in the news, there've been a lot of rumors about the Seahawks and their relations with Richard Sherman. Should they trade him? Should they not? That's the question I want to ask the both of you. Would you trade Richard Sherman to another team?
Well, I guess I'll start. I will say Richard Sherman has also been a fan favorite. I have to say I've probably been in 3 living rooms with a picture of him, a particular interception in the 49ers game. It's a famous picture here in Seattle, and I've seen that in many living rooms that I've been in. So he's definitely another player that brings the city together and gets people excited. But having said that, I think Seattle can do without Richard Sherman in the future because, he was drafted in 2011. He's 29 years old. As me and Christian were talking earlier today, he's kind of on that downward slope as far as football players in the league. He's getting up there in age, and I think it would be smart for the Hawks if they got rid of Richard Sherman. They could bring in some new talent that has potential for future success.
That's fair. DJ, would you trade Richard Sherman?
Very fair. And I think you could go either way on this, but I personally do not think you should. I think he's still, even though his performance has declined a little bit, you can't deny the stats. But he still has a couple good years left in the tank, and trading him would only, number one, fuel his fire. And then number two, if we were to, I think the best we could get for him is like a second-round draft pick. And the time is now for the Seahawks. They only have a couple more years left in their Super Bowl window, in my opinion. And that draft pick would have to develop for a couple years. Let's see. And Sherman is such a key element to the core of that defensive group that trading him away would only it would only hurt them.
I think that's also fair.
Lacey's got something.
Yeah. Like I said, fan favorite. I just got a text from my mom, and she said, "Don't trade Richard Sherman. I have to buy a new jersey." So he's got the hearts of the fans.
We love you, Barb.
Mrs. Nicholson. Last season, he was incredibly difficult to deal with, to listen to. I can remember a Thursday night game against the Rams. It was a very casual win for the Seahawks. It was no big deal. The game should have been over, and it should have been on to the next week. But Sherman had to criticize Darrell Bevel and Pete Carroll for throwing the ball on the 1 yard line, making references to the Super Bowl loss and yada, yada, yada. Just stuff that isn't worth doing, right? My question is he still worth the headache for Pete Carroll and the Seahawks?
I would definitely say that he is a massive headache for the program. And that's just not something you do. You do not go to your head coach and cause a ruckus over something that happened in the past. It is what it is. But I think because of these NFL players are making so much money, they feel that is their right to speak their mind. But it just causes a distraction, especially the media these days. It causes a distraction in the program and can take the focus off of winning games and preparing for the next week.
That's very, very fair. Drew or DJ? No Drew this week. DJ.
Man.
What do you think? Is he worth the headache?
Well, speaking of Drew, we hope he gets home safe from Dallas. Just like I said before, I think he is worth the headache. He is going to be in the media, like whether it's good or bad is,
but it's mostly bad.
Yeah,
like
it is.
Not like,
it is.
Oh, he did a cool thing. It's like, oh, he talked a bunch of crap again.
Yeah,
no way.
It is mostly bad, and maybe the talking crap. Some people can view that as not bad or good for the Seahawks, because that's kind of the Seahawks mantra. They're the big bad Seahawks talking all that crap, and that's what I think they have to get back to more of. I think they've gotten a little soft over these past couple of years. You haven't heard Sherman talking as much. Earl has been hurt. Cam, he's been doing okay, but I think he's on the decline as well. I think the situation last year could have been handled better and more in-house by Pete Carroll and even Sherman. Sherman should have had the maturity to talk, not to the media, but to his coach, and go to his coach directly or his defensive coordinator. But the emotion of football, there's so much emotion involved in it, and these guys put so much into it that it's hard sometimes you let your emotions get the best of you, even if you are a super mature person. Like we see things on Peyton Manning. He was like the calmest of all calms, and even still, he'll get mad at somebody sometime and call him out, and for everybody to see, like on the sidelines. But I think he overall he is worth the headache, and we'll just have to put up with him for a couple more years.
Okay, my question is, do you think that the way Richard Sherman has acted towards the media is legit, or is it a front? Is he playing a character? Is he trying to be this person, right? Example, Rob Gronkowski
which I love,
is perceived to be a party boy, right?
Yep.
On boats all the time, doing this, doing that all the time. But the dude is never in trouble, and when he's healthy, he's always a incredibly productive player for the New England Patriots. To me, in my mind, there's no way that you can be this crazy outgoing party boy and then put it all together when the season comes and never be in trouble and never get caught for doing anything dumb, all that good stuff. It could, I don't think that he's actually the dumb jock that he appears to be. I think there's more to that, whether he's being helped by a team of people or whether he's actually that smart and understands how to be that way.
Yeah.
Do you think Richard Sherman is trying to build a brand as a villain, as a bad guy, as a person that people love to hate, or is he just passionate about what he does? Like, what do you think?
I think that's just the persona he's kind of grown up in, with his whole draft stock and how Harbaugh mistreated him at Stanford. He's just kind of always had that chip on his shoulder. And I watched a feature on him some time ago, and even in high school, his coach said they tried to take the trash talking away from him and to try and get him to stop from playing without that chip, and his performance decreased substantially. So I feel like for some people, Michael Jordan had that chip of ever since high school when he got cut. He committed himself to getting better so he would never get cut again, and he played with that chip on his shoulder. And I think that's something that Sherman does, is he plays with that chip on his shoulder, and he needs that in order to peak perform at his highest level.
So that's who Richard Sherman is. He's just a loudmouth dude, and he has to be that way, or else he's not going to be what he is.
Yep.
Okay, that's fair. Lacey, what do you think? Is this fake? Is this a front, or is this who he is?
I believe that putting on a front for the media is a very real thing, and especially with the media these days, I think players are potentially told to act a certain way to increase fan ratings or whatnot. But I will say, I believe with Richard Sherman, I think it's all passion. I think he's passionate about the game. He loves what he does. He cares about his teammates, and a lot of times he'll be sticking up for his teammates. And I actually went back and watched the interview with Aaron Andrews after that 49ers game when Sherman was talking about Michael Crabtree. And if you watch that video, that's not acting. That guy has fire in his eyes, and he is just straight passionate about what he does. And I think sometimes it can hurt him, the things he says, but I don't think it's a front at all.
Very, very interesting. All right, that'll put a wrap on Seahawks talk for this week.